Welcome to GDs, and this is Warrior, Season 2. Season starts with Ah Sahm fighting in the pits of the Barbary Coast, run by a Mexican businesswoman called Rosalita Vega. We learn that Ah Sahm fights there in order to improve his skills. Being there, he was also able to identify an anti-Chinese hate group that calls itself the Teddy Boys. Ah Sahm shares what he learned about the Teddy Boys with Ah Toy. Ah Toy, along with Ah Sahm and Lai, attacks and eliminate the Teddy Boys, and in the process, they save a Chinese worker they were torturing. Later, as Ah Sahm walks with Young Jun, they spot Mai Ling also in the market, and seeing her, Young Jun is quite upset. Since the deal his father made with them has caused them to lose on profits, as both Mai Ling and Feng Hai have been pushing their products. As a result, they are losing their customers. He tries to pressure his father to go after them, but Father Jun wants to stick to the deal. He lets Young Jun know that he is waiting for Mai Ling's faction to breach the deal, and then they will go after them. Young Jun was also able to figure out that Mai Ling is sourcing her products locally, and that's why she is able to offer better rate, and because of it, they are losing their customers. Ah Sahm, learning the same, suggests to Young Jun that they should also do the same, as it is Young Jun's responsibility to order the products. Young Jun, knowing that his father will never stop buying from China, agrees to Ah Sam's plan, and was hoping to pull it off behind his father's back. Ah Sahm, in order to find a supplier, seeks Wang's help, but Wang, knowing that the request is not coming from Father Jun, denies to help. But Ah Sahm was determined to find a source. Thus, he goes to Vega, and she agrees to help him. Vega introduces them to a local supplier, named Happy Jack, and they are able to finalize a deal. On the other hand, we get to see Penelope, who is now running her father's factory. But the mayor is not happy with the same, as she is using Chinese laborers, which is against his political stand. Thus, he wants her to sell the business. But Penelope is not willing to do so, as she wants to remain independent. We also get to see Penelope's younger sister, Sophie, who has moved in with her after their father died. As Sophie goes to her father's grave, she gets to meet with Leary, and gets quite intrigued by him. Later, we see some Irishmen attacking the Chinese laborers going to work. While Leary acquires dynamites and blows up a factory which employed Chinese laborer. The business community, including Penelope, is not happy with the same, and they want the mayor to intervene. But the mayor seemed indifferent to their plight. Penelope, knowing that she won't get any help from the mayor, requests Ah Sahm to provide security for her factory, and in exchange, she offers to pay the hopway a security fee. But Ah Sahm, being hurt by her, refuses to do so. Meanwhile, we get to see Bill, still working as a debt collector for Feng Hai. Bill, not liking the same, tries to quit, as he believes his debt is repaid. But when Xing offers to pay him for his services, Bill decides to continue working as his debt collector. While his partner Li has occasional pain in his head, despite recovering. Li goes to a local bar in order to get drunk. The bartender there reminds him of his girlfriend. The bartender, using his liking towards her, lures him back, and there, he is jumped by a few men, and they rob him. Li later goes back to the bar, in his police uniform, and beats up the men who robbed him. Later, Bill and Li reach the warehouse of the Teddy Boys. Seeing the bodies, Chief Flanagan pressures them to find the killer soon. Bill and Li, in order to get information about the killer from Wang, raid and confiscate all his weapons, in order to build pressure on him, to provide them with some information about the killer. But Wang lets them know that he knows nothing. Later, we see him informing Ah Toy that her side business has now started to interfere with his business. While Li believes that the two businessmen who were killed are the odd ones out, among the others assassinated by the swordsman. Li decides to look into them, hoping it will lead them to the killer. Thus they question Patterson about the deal he made with them. Patterson answers all their questions, though they are a bit suspicious, but they had nothing to go on for now. Patterson informs Ah Toy that he was questioned by the police. Ah Toy, getting to know that it was Bill who questioned him, tells him not to worry. On the other hand, Mai Ling meets with Buckley and gives him the proceeds from the sale of opium. But Buckley lets her know that he is more interested in turmoil in Chinatown rather than the profits. Mai Ling assures him that he need not worry, as the peace is temporary. Mai Ling, knowing that Buckley has a hold on her, hires a private investigator to find something on Buckley so that she could keep him in check. Later, she finds a member of the Sui Sing gang, dealing opium in her territory. She is not happy with the same, and wants to send them a message. But Li Yong feels it might be a mistake, and insists that they talk with him first. Mai Ling agrees with the same, but asks him to take Xing along for the meeting. At the meeting, Xing and his men were not interested in their explanation, and they eliminate everyone. As Li Yong tries to stop them, Xing lets him know that Mai Ling knew what will happen if she asks them to be at the meeting. Mai Ling later visits Xing and tells him to stay in his lane, but Xing seemed defiant. Li Yong was not happy with the same, but Mai Ling, knowing that they need their support for now, decides to continue their relationship. Meanwhile, Ah Sahm and Young Jun go to Happy Jack to know about their shipment, but Happy Jack changed his terms, as he was no longer willing to store the product for them. They get into a fight, but Happy Jack makes it clear to them that they have no choice on the matter, and will have to take the shipment. Having no place for them to store the product, Ah Sahm takes the security job which Penelope offered, and uses her factory to store the products, without her knowledge. The hopway getting the products at a cheaper price, are able to increase their profit margin. Young Jun, despite being afraid of his father, was happy making a better profit. Later he learns that his father got more fighters from China, without his knowledge, and he gets concerned by the same. Though one of the new arrivals, Hong, intrigues them with his fighting skills. Later he becomes more comfortable in staying with Ah Sahm and Young Jun. Senator Crestwood, holding a rally, announces his bid for the presidency, and he gains the crowd's support with his anti-Chinese sentiments. The mayor was caught off guard by the same, and since his wife employed Chinese laborer, the crowd was not happy with him. The mayor pressures his wife again to sell the factory, and even threatens to cancel her contract. But Penelope lets him know that even if he cancels the contract, he will have to pay her for the order, as per the contract. She tries to explain to him that his anti-China stand will make him lose the support of the businessmen, and their support will be needed by him if he wishes to win again. But the mayor was more concerned in aligning with the senator. We also get to see Nellie Davenport, a wealthy widow, and after losing her husband, she has committed herself to end the exploitation of young Chinese women. And in order to do so, she raids and rescues them from brothels. She also visits Ah Toy, and Ah Toy tells her that none of her girls are forced to work, and that they can leave any time. As one of her girls wants to leave, Ah Toy goes with her to Nellie's farms, in order to help her settle in. Being there, and seeing all the girls, she felt quite emotional, as it reminded her of her village. As she shares her feelings with Nellie, they formed a bond, and ended up kissing each other. On the other hand, Bill, being called out for being a cop owned by the Chinese, decides to quit working for the Feng Hai. And he lets Xing know that he is done with them. Xing later visits Wang, and pressures him to deliver his order of weapons, and insinuates that he will eventually be working for him only. Wang lets Mai Ling know that he is being threatened by Xing, but Mai Ling tells him that he should just give Xing what he wants, as she was not willing to do anything, and Li Yong was not happy knowing the same. Wang, seeing the disappointment on Li Yong's face, later meets with him, and devises a plan to get rid of Xing. We also get to know that Wang has fathered a daughter with a white working lady, and he pays her to take care of his daughter. Meanwhile, with Bill refusing to work for Feng Hai, the Feng Hai attacks him and his family in their home. Bill, with the help of Li and his wife Lucy, was able to have an upper hand, and they kill everyone who came after them. His wife is quite upset with him, as his actions made her take a life. Bill, in order to keep his family safe, sends them away. He also confesses to Li about his involvement with the Feng Hai, and Li, getting to know that he was attacked because of him, is also quite angry. With one of their own being attacked in his home, the police prepares to raid the Feng Hai headquarters. But Wang asks Bill to delay his plan for 2 days, and in return, he will help him nail Xing for being the swordsman for all the murders that have taken place. Knowing the same, Bill delays his plan of retaliation. While Wang goes to Ah Toy and asks her to provide him with her sword, and lets her know that this will help both of them. With the attack on a police officer's family, Deputy Mayor Buckley urges Mayor Blake to strengthen his anti-Chinese stance. And the mayor issues a strong statement to the press. While Ah Sahm, guarding Penelope's factory, has a heated debate with Leary, but before it could escalate to anything more, Leary leaves. Sophie later visits Leary at his bar, and feels quite connected with his stance, and she ends up sleeping with him. As she returns home, her sister spots her with Leary, which resulted in them having a heated argument. Angry with her sister, Sophie helps Leary in blowing up her family's factory by providing him with an alternative way inside the factory. With them having an alternate way in, they were successful in blowing up the factory. Though after the fact, Sophie feels guilty about doing so. As Penelope examines the remnants of her father's factory, she also discovers that the hopways were using her factory as their storage. She is quite annoyed by the same, and tells Ah Sahm to leave. While the mayor visits her, and reminds her that if she is not able to fulfill her end of the contract, they now can legally cancel the order. On the other hand, Wang delivers Xing his weapons, while Li Yong sneaks into their headquarters, in order to hide the sword that Wang secured. Xing, being suspicious of Wang, has him tortured, but they get interrupted, as the police raid their compound. And the cops kill anyone who stood against them. Xing spotted Li Yong before he could leave, and they engage in a brief fight, but Li Yong escapes, while Xing, having the sword in his hand, is implicated as the swordsman responsible for the murders, and he is arrested. In addition, Bill also finds a watch with Xing that belonged to one of the businessmen who got killed, thus making the evidence against Xing quite compelling. Later, we see Wang taking his daughter away from her mother and leaving her in Nellie's care, as he was not sure what life she would have with her mother. While Mai Ling sits down with Ah Sahm in order to reconcile with him. She lets him know that she is sorry for ordering his death during the fight. But Ah Sahm was not ready to forgive her, and he lets her know that he will not kill her. Instead, he will make her suffer. Later, Ah Sahm asks Vega to enroll him in Rooker's mill fight, as the payout for the winner is quite large, and since all their product was destroyed in the factory, they needed the money to order fresh product. Vega, Ah Sahm, Young Jun, and Hong travel to the border town of Rooker's mill, owned by fight promoter and a rich businessman Elijah Rooker. Being there, Ah Sahm, with his fighting skills, kept qualifying for the next rounds easily. He also got close to Vega, and they ended up sleeping together. Rooker, the host of the tournament, impressed by Ah Sam's skills, invites him and Vega to lunch. At the lunch, he asks Ah Sahm to stay at Rooker's mill to train his men. But Ah Sahm declines his offer, while Vega shares her past and explains on how Rooker had killed her father and stole her family's land. And she uses this opportunity to kill Rooker with his own gun. Vega and the Hopway trio are arrested and are being transferred to Sacramento for trial. But Rooker's wife, Mary Soul, intercepts and frees them. It is when we learn that Mary Soul is Vega's sister and was forcefully married to Rooker. And now, with him being dead, she will inherit everything back. Mary Soul gives the prize money to Ah Sahm, while Vega asks Ah Sahm to stay with her. But before he could answer, Rooker's bodyguard shoots and kills Vega, while Young Jun takes him out before he could harm anyone else. Having the money, the trio returns back to Chinatown and are happy that they now have the money to buy the product. But as they reach back, they are confronted by Father Jun and the Hopway Council, as he found out that Young Jun acquired the products locally without discussing with him. Father Jun, angry with his son's betrayal, orders his men to kill them, but Young Jun and Ah Sahm are able to appeal to them and make them see that they did what they did for the betterment of Hopway. Hearing them, the men defy Father Jun's order and stand down, and this forces Father Jun to retire, while Young Jun becomes the leader of the Hopway. On the other hand, with compelling evidence against Xing, he is sentenced to death by hanging. And the Chinatown squad gets a lot of recognition for bringing the swordsman killer to justice. With Xing being gone, Feng Hai was gearing up to choose their new leader. But before they could, Hopway takes out the entire Feng Hai in an attempt to weaken Mai Ling. Mai Ling, finding out the same, is quite angry with Li Yong, as his actions forced her to be on the back foot. And she makes sure that he understands on who is in charge. Later, she also gets information on Deputy Mayor Buckley, which she can use as leverage against him. While Ah Toy gets quite close to Nellie, and she shares with her about the investment she has made in purchasing various lands. Knowing the same, Nellie suggests to her that she can transfer the same in her trust, thereby she will have no issues, as she already has a lot of land. In addition, if required, they can use it to build more farms for the rescued girls. Nellie also shares with her the location of a brothel, where girls are being imprisoned, and she has not been able to rescue them. Ah Toy asks Patterson to transfer her lands to Nellie's trust, while she along with Lai goes to the brothel, where girls are being imprisoned, and they are able to rescue all of them. Ah Toy takes them to Nellie's farm, and before leaving, she even asks Lai to stay back, as she wants her to build a life for herself. while Patterson, reaping the spoils of the lands he had, was not willing to give them up. Thus he hires assassins to go after Ah Toy. Bill, seeing the people at the brothel being killed by a sword, is not sure what to do, as they just got recognition for capturing the swordsman. But the officer who found the bodies helped them cover it up. Lee, investigating the evidence against Xing, was able to learn that Bill planted the evidence on Xing, and as Lee confronts Bill, things get heated. Meanwhile, with the mayor's tough stand on the Chinese workers, the wealthy industrialists call him out, and they let him know that he doesn't understand the ramifications of not using Chinese labor, and they assure him that his stand won't help him in his future political prospects. As the drunken mayor returns home, he gets into an argument with his wife, as she told him the same thing, but the argument escalated, and the mayor started choking his wife. Sophie tries to help her sister, but she is knocked out. It is when Jacob, in order to save Penelope, hits the mayor on the head. But the hit resulted in the mayor dying. Penelope, knowing that despite Jacob protecting her, but him being a Chinese man, he will be prosecuted, thus she asks him to leave. Chief Flanagan, along with Deputy Mayor Buckley, who now become the acting mayor, questions a stunned Penelope, but before she could say anything, Sophie lets them know that it was Jacob who hit the mayor. Though Penelope tries to tell him that he tried to save her, but Buckley lets her know that someone will need to pay for the mayor's death. Buckley orders a manhunt for Jacob, and the entire Chinatown is put in lockdown by the police, while they search for Jacob. Mai Ling, knowing that Buckley is now the mayor, and she no longer has the support of Feng Hai, asks him to aid her in removing the hopway from Chinatown, and in exchange, she assures him that she will help him find Jacob. While Ah Toy is attacked by the assassins hired by Patterson. Ah Toy gets severely injured in the attack, but in the end, she was able to kill both the assassins. She then visits Patterson, and makes him sign the papers, in order to transfer the ownership of the lands. Back in Chinatown, Wang finds Jacob hiding in his shop. Wang assures him that he will help him get out of the country. But being under pressure from Mai Ling, and the manhunt causing their business to be impacted, he gives up Jacob to the authorities. Jacob is arrested by the police, and as they take him away, they are surrounded by Irishmen, who want revenge for the mayor's death. The police tries to stop them, but they were no match for an angry mob. The mob gets Jacob out, and they hang him on the street. Sophie, being there, tries to stop them, but she is knocked out, while Leary tells her that this is the real world, and Sophie, seeing the violence, is quite stunned. The mob, after killing Jacob, started moving towards Chinatown, destroying everything and everyone on its way. Mai Ling and Wang seek refuge at Ah Toy's brothel, where Mai Ling, seeing Ah Toy's injuries, nurses him. Witnessing the spread of violence, the Hopway and the Long Z join forces together, in order to stop the mob from destroying Chinatown, and they go after the mob. As they fight, Father June also joins in the action, and saves young June, who was nearly killed by a gunman. While Ah Sahm stands out among all the fighters, as they push back the mob. Lee and a reluctant Bill also aid the Chinese, despite the mob's overwhelming numbers. The San Francisco police finally arrives in force, bringing an end to all the violence. Leary gathers the dead and injured Irish at his bar. While young June, Ah Sahm, and Hong get Jacob's body down, in order to give him a proper send-off. Father June and young June are also able to reconcile after the riot. While Sophie informs her sister about Jacob's death. Furious about Jacob's death as well as Buckley's manipulations, Penelope confronts him, and vows to expose his corruption at any cost. She then goes to a newspaper with everything she had on Buckley. Back in Chinatown, the residents, in order to show their respect and appreciation for Ah Sahm, paint a large picture of him on a wall. And Ah Toy, seeing the same, encourages him to consider the potential prospects. Mai Ling, seeing the popularity of his brother, seeks an audience with young June, and in an act of desperation, she reveals to him that Ah Sahm is her brother. Young June is quite surprised by the same, and it creates a rift between them. Ah Sahm tells him his side of the story, and assures him that his loyalty lies with him. But young June needs time to decide on what to do next, and Ah Sahm tells him not to take long. Young June lets Hong know that he recognizes that Ah Sahm was in an impossible situation, and even if he forgives him, he will never be sure if Ah Sahm can see his sister die. While Ah Sahm goes to Leary's bar, and challenges him to a fight. Both the fighters have a go at each other, but Ah Sahm finally defeats Leary, and warns him, as well as the rest of the Irishmen, that they should never enter Chinatown again. On the other hand, Lee resigns from the police force, despite Bill requesting him not to do so. He later goes to the bar, where he met the bartender Abigail, and as they genuinely talk, they felt connected, and end up sleeping together. Bill's wife Lucy, worried for her husband, after hearing about the riot, returns home, and reconciles with her husband. Father June decides to leave San Francisco, but asks Wang to watch over young June in his absence. While Buckley asks Penelope to meet him, as he got to know about the article, and was able to stop it from being published. Buckley, realizing that Penelope won't give up, frames her for attacking him, and gets her admitted to a mental hospital. While Mai Ling uses the photo she got of Buckley to blackmail him, as the photo shows him to be in the Confederate Army. Having this leverage on him, she was able to make him work for her. As a result, Buckley decides to shut down the Hopway's operations. As he was sharing his plans for the same with the council, Leary walks in, and declares his stance as representative of the Irish working men. And as the season ends, we see Zing planning an escape from the prison. While young June sees the painting of Ah Sahm, while contemplating on how to move forward. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.